Crude prices moved slightly lower on Monday after US President Donald Trump announced a military plan to assist ships leaving the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has rejected.
US President Donald Trump says Washington will pull back troops from Germany a lot further than the initially announced withdrawal of 5,000.
World leaders have begun arriving in Yerevan for the 8th meeting of the European political community. The French government has vowed to crack down on illegal raves after tens of thousands of people gathered at an unauthorized event this weekend.
Crude prices moved slightly lower today after US President Donald Trump announced that starting today, ships will be assisted in leaving the Strait of Hormuz under a military plan called Project Freedom. Iran, however, has already rejected the proposal. The US Central Command says the operation will involve guided missile destroyers, over 100 aircraft, and 15,000 service members. Much hinges on unblocking this bottleneck, with hundreds of tankers and cargo ships still stranded across the Gulf. Despite the geopolitical tension, global stock markets are showing resilience. In Asian share trading overnight, Hong Kong's Hang Seng jumped 1.4%. Strong buying of tech stocks pushed South Korea's Kospi higher by 3.8%, while Taiwan's TAIEX surged 4.2%. Markets in mainland China and Japan remain closed for holidays. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 climbed 0.3% to another all-time high, with 84% of companies that have reported so far topping analysts' estimates. However, the oil sector remains volatile. While soaring crude prices helped ExxonMobil and Chevron's profits, both saw their stock prices fall as oil regressed on Friday. In early Monday currency trading, the dollar rose against the Japanese yen, while the euro fell slightly.
Donald Trump indicated that there will be further significant cuts to U.S. troop presence in Germany just one day after the Pentagon announced it was withdrawing 5,000 within the next 6 to 12 months.
Why is the U.S. removing troops from Germany?
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000. Thank you very much.
The move escalates a dispute between Trump and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who last week criticized the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran, stating that Washington had no strategy. Merz also said the Iranian leadership is, quote, humiliating the United States, eliciting an angry response from Trump, who slammed him as useless in helping end the war in Ukraine. The U.S. currently maintains over 36,000 active duty troops in Germany, which will drop down to 31,000 when the announced soldiers depart. It's unclear how many more Washington plans to pull back, but Trump has also suggested that similar cuts are to come in Spain and Italy after recent clashes with their leaders, also over the Iran war.
World leaders have begun arriving in Yerevan for the 8th meeting of the European political community, under the motto, Building the Future, Unity and Stability in Europe. Some 48 heads of state and government have been invited to take part in the event, including all 27 members of the European Union. The European political community is an intergovernmental forum for political and strategic discussions about the future of Europe, established in 2022 after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Apart from the meeting, the first ever EU-Armenia bilateral summit will take place on the 4th and 5th of May, focusing on strengthening relations, in particular connectivity in energy, transport and digital. The President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, together with the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, will represent the EU, while Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan will represent Armenia. France's Interior Minister has vowed to crack down on illegal raves after tens of thousands of people gathered at an unauthorized event this weekend. After flying over the party, taking place at a military site near the town of Bourges, Laurent Nunez said everyone leaving the so-called Technival will be fined. Organizers said that up to 40,000 people have attended the event, while French officials put the turnout at 17,000. Hundreds of sanctions have been issued already, say the government. The location of the party, close to the Interior Minister's birthplace, was chosen deliberately by anti-war organisers as a direct protest against proposed legislation that would criminalise the organisation of illegal raves. Organising such an event will now be a criminal offence punishable by 2 years in prison and a €30,000 fine, said Núñez.
With the slogan "Choose wisely, don't buy it," WWF has introduced its updated guide to responsible seafood consumption. The guide is aimed at seafood consumers, encouraging them to make informed choices that support both their health and the environment, while also respecting the social groups involved in the seafood industry.
Πρώτα απ' όλα να ενημερωθεί ο κόσμος, ενημέρωση, ευαισθητοποίηση, να μάθει να επιλέγει σωστά, υπεύθυνα τα θαλασσινά του. Δηλαδή να μάθει ποια ψάρια πρέπει να επιλέγει, σε ποιο μέγεθος, τις σωστές εποχές. Καλό είναι να έχουμε στο νου μας και το κομμάτι το περιβαλλοντικό, γιατί εμείς ή η προηγούμενη γενιά από εμάς πήρε κάτι. Μία θάλασσα, η γη. Πρέπει τουλάχιστον να αφήσουμε ή στο ίδιο σημείο ή σε καλύτερο σημείο.
According to the latest data, more than 240 non-native species have been recorded in Greece, and their consumption is considered an important step in adapting to climate change.
Όταν δεν γνωρίζεις κάτι και ακούς τη λέξη ξενικό, δυστυχώς υπάρχει μια φοβία. Υπάρχουν πάρα πολλά είδη τα οποία είναι πάρα πολύ γευστικά. Πλέον στις νότιες περιοχές υπάρχουν σε αυθονία και όχι μόνο, έχουν πάει και στην Πελοπόννησο σιγά σιγά και στο Ιόνιο και με πάρα πολύ καλό διατροφικό προφίλ.
Efforts to incorporate edible invasive species into our diets are also supported by many chefs, who are increasingly featuring them on their menus.
Σε 2 χρόνια, 3 δεν θα έχουμε ούτε ψάρι να πουλήσουμε στα μαγαζιά μας. Οπότε πρέπει σιγά σιγά να εντάξουμε στα μενού τα ξενικά είδη ψαριών, να τα μάθει σιγά σιγά ο κόσμος, να μην δίνουμε στον κόσμο ό,τι μας ζητάει, γιατί δεν γίνεται να το έχουμε αυτό. Δεν γίνεται να έχουμε όλο το χρόνο χταπόδι, δεν γίνεται όλο το χρόνο να έχουμε μπαρμπούνι, καλαμάρι και όλα αυτά. Οπότε πρέπει να προσαρμόσουμε τα μενού μας με ξενικά είδη και σιγά σιγά να τα μάθει όλος ο κόσμος.
Τα τελευταία 50 χρόνια έχει διπλασιαστεί η παγκόσμια κατανάλωση ψαρικών, ενώ τα αποθέματα μειώνονται. Ο οδηγός υπεύθυνης κατανάλωσης μας βοηθάει να κάνουμε βιώσιμες επιλογές, ενώ την ίδια ώρα συμβάλλουμε στην προστασία των θαλασσών. Από την Αθήνα για το euronews, Απόστολος Τάικος.
At the Foundation Bayer outside Basel, visitors are swapping their usual attire for swimming costumes. The Swiss Museum invited art lovers to browse its galleries in their swimwear. Those who braved the unusual dress code were granted free entry, saving the usual 25 franc fee. Some visitors even donned swimming caps and walked around barefoot, taking time to sunbathe in the museum garden.
Je trouve que c'est assez absurde et j'aime bien cette idée en fait de faire ça. Je trouve que c'est un peu osé qu'un musée organise ça. Puis je me suis dit allez, je joue le jeu et puis je viens ici.
Day of the Bathers event was conceived by the renowned Italian artist Maurizio Cattelan. It is designed to complement the current exhibition of works by French post-impressionist Paul Cézanne. Cézanne's famous Bathers series depict nude figures integrated into nature, closely intertwining bodies and the landscape. The museum says the unusual setting opens a dialogue between art and the viewer, introducing a touch of humor and freedom.
You want to be inspired by the nature and expose that organic experience of the nature, of the people, and I feel that dressing a swimwear, it's close to that because you are almost naked.
Many attendees agree that the concept successfully breaks traditional museum codes. Organizers hope the playful invention will continue to encourage people to step out their comfort zones and experience art in a completely new way.
Nine artifacts dating from the 2nd to the 7th century are being returned to Uzbekistan after being recovered by the Metropolitan Police in London. The items were seized in November 2025 during an investigation codenamed Operation Inherent Vice after being illegally exported from the country. They were presented at the Uzbekistan embassy in London before the transfer. The objects include statue heads and fragments of gypsum frescoes linked to periods associated with the Bactrian and Kusan empires.
Obviously, the message is historic, is cultural, is a lot to do with the historical memory of the Uzbeki people, and might serve as a message for more and more such artifacts to head back to their home country.
The handover took place during an international cultural event in London, linked to the anniversary program marking 690 years since the birth of Amir Timur. Discussions during the event focused on international cooperation to prevent the illicit trafficking of cultural property and to strengthen legal frameworks for its protection. The artifacts will be transferred to the Center of Islamic Civilization, a newly opened museum and research complex in Tashkent. The center states that the items will be preserved, studied and displayed as part of its collection.
Hurmatli prezidentimiz alohida bizlarga topshiriq berdilarki va alohida guruh tuzdilar, buni qaytarish kerak dedilar. Va mana qarang, u kishining shaxsiy tashabbuslari bilan 2000 ga yaqin madaniy merosimizni qaytarilgan.
Representatives of the center say efforts to recover additional artifacts will continue through cooperation with museums, galleries and auction houses.